You are invited to join us on a trip to splendid places in France, Spain, and Portugal on the Oceania Marina cruise ship. The vessel's Fortuna string quartet soothingly plays while we start with some trip highlights. First, here's a view of the marina's grand staircase and upper decks. The Wine Museum of Bordeaux, Bilbao's Guggenheim Museum, and an eye-catching art exhibit there. Bell towers, cathedrals, and statues that have lasted through the centuries. A choppy day at sea, quirky and humorous town centers, an ancient lighthouse and a modern sculpture, a ride on Porto's Douro River, storytelling ceilings and walls, colorful harbor fronts, historic monuments, rounding Gibraltar, then touring Valencia's City of Arts and Sciences, including acrobatic dolphins. Here's to you. Relax and enjoy wine, tea, coffee, or the beverage of your choice, and glimpse some imaginative art on the ship as we sail away. We begin on a Bordeaux morning. Flanking Bordeaux on the muddy Garonne River is this massive lift bridge. It slowly and smoothly rose, permitting us to pass under. Here's a view of it from the stern while we were escorted by a harbor master's ship. Close to the harbor's bridges and sporting a twisting facade is this building, the Wine Museum of Bordeaux. The upper shape is intended to resemble a glass of vino, with swirling wine legs dripping down. We didn't have time to visit it, but here are some of the nearby vineyards we passed by with their elegant chateaux. The local wine growers are mighty proud of their product and want you to know that. Back in Bordeaux, the piercing spires of St. Andrew's Cathedral dominate the skyline. The waterfront has a beautiful lineup of 18th century buildings, as well as modern skating and blading half-pipes and other city parks and jogging trails. The Bourse Maritime once was a stock market. Now it's a government office building. This classical and neoclassical architecture, culture, historical importance as a center of the wine industry, and a major trading center for hundreds of years is what induced UNESCO to add the city to its World Heritage List. Only 6 stone gates remain of the formerly walled city. We'll take a look at 4 of them. Let's begin with Porte Bourgogne, or Burgundy Gate. Dating to Roman Empire times, it later became the official entrance to the city for those arriving from Paris. Then, in the mid-18th century, it was rebuilt and named in tribute to the Duke of Burgundy, an important ally of Bordeaux. With its spires, windows, statues, and stonework, the Porte Caillaux Gate looks like a little castle in the city. Indeed, it did serve as a castle at times. At one point, it housed future French King Louis VII when he married Eleanor of Aquitaine. More about them later. Our favorite is the Porte de la Grosse Cloche, or Gate of the Great Bell. Aptly named, That bell weighs over 7 tons and still rings on special holidays as well as the first Sunday of every month. The two connecting towers once topped off the medieval town hall and a prison. Impressively, the mid-1700s clocks on the front and back sides still mostly function. That's good maintenance. This is also where, in 1453, Bordeaux was annexed away from England to the French crown, ending 3 centuries of English rule. Our last gate is Porte de Joux. While some of it dates back to the era of Roman rule, it has been restored and rebuilt several times. These sculptures on its pediment have much historical significance. There are emblems of the Bordeaux area, such as grapes. A powerful lion above the gate of the Great Bell relates to when the English occupied Bordeaux. Caroline, our Bordeaux tour guide, is humorously interrupted by a colleague on wheels.
Bonjour.
No, it's a vital from your ship.
Portions of the massive St. Andrew Cathedral date from the 9th century. This UNESCO World Heritage Site was where many important European political marriages took place. One of them was that of previously mentioned Eleanor of Aquitaine, who, at the tender age of 13, was wed to 17-year-old Louis VII. Soon after, the youngsters became Queen and King of France. The cathedral is outfitted with the usual menacing gargoyles. To protect its walls, flying buttresses were added in the 15th century, after an earthquake. Because of the instability of the subsoil, the bell tower was located away from the cathedral. A golden statue of Our Lady of Aquitaine tops it. Let's take a look inside the cathedral. Intensely colored stained glass fills the high windows of the nave. The pipe organ is adorned by intricately crafted sculptures, as is the pulpit. Another grand church of the area, with perhaps an even more exquisite facade, is the Church of Notre Dame. It was built in the Baroque architectural style in the late 17th century. This building with a columned facade is not a church, but the home of the Bordeaux National Opera. The statues near the rooftop represent those Greek muses and Roman goddesses who are significant to the arts. This tall monument of Bordeaux's Statue of Liberty, breaking free from her chains, stands in memory of the victims of the Reign of Terror during the French Revolution. Au revoir, Bordeaux. After a day of sailing, we next find ourselves in lovely Bilbao, situated in northern Spain. At the top of most anyone's must-see list, here is the Guggenheim Museum. This widely acclaimed, ingenious, twisting architecture even outshines that of the Bordeaux Wine Museum. Despite the gloomy weather, the titanium-sheathed walls still gleam, and the floral sculptures brighten the soggy outdoors. Impervious to the weather stands the famous, ominous, and towering spider sculpture. More of Frank Gehry's wildly curved walls grab our attention inside. As one might imagine, its collection of modern and contemporary art is in keeping with the exterior. On temporary display was the work of Yoshitomo Nara, with illustrations and sculptures of straight-lipped girls whose oversized heads and eyes express a broad range of emotions. Contrast that with the wall of repeating, unchanging images of Marilyn Monroe painted by Andy Warhol. Nearly everything seems to be on a very big scale here in the museum. Gazing up from the ground floor, what is this? When we look at it from the other end, it turns out to be a giant shuttlecock. Badminton, anyone? How about this giant bouquet of reflective, balloon-like tulips by Jeff Koons? Some of the immersive art allows you to walk through it, such as this canyon-like installation called Matter of Time. From our vantage point atop Archanda Hill, we get a commanding view of the sprawling city, as well as one last glance at the shining metallic curves of the Guggenheim. En route to our next stop, A Coruña in Spain, the sea becomes very choppy. Here's how another vessel accompanying us for a short distance is faring. Hope they brought plenty of motion sickness medicine. The weather becomes much calmer and sunnier as we enter A Coruña in the autonomous province of Galicia, Spain. It's famous for its galleria, or glass-enclosed balconies. As a result, A Coruña has often been called the Glass City. Imagine how cozy it must feel in winter. Maria de Pita Square establishes the center of the city. It was named after a local heroine who helped defeat the English privateer Francis Drake in the 16th century. Also, here is the ornate town hall. It's not all seriously governmental, as can be seen by various cartoonish statues scattered throughout the square it overlooks. Captain Thunder, hero of a series of Spanish comic books, stands guard in front of the statue of Maria Pita. Asterix and Obelix, Franco-Belgian characters of a series set in 50 BC Gaul, flank the town hall entrance. We can't help but playfully imitate their poses. Adjacent to the plaza is the St. George Church. Initially built in the 12th century, its current construction blends Gothic, Baroque, and neoclassical styles of architecture as a result of many restorations since then. Inside are several lavishly sculptured chapels, some of which are gilded. The altar is surrounded by sturdy Corinthian columns. Let's go outside for a view of some of the more eye-catching, unusual aspects of A Coruña. Is this hand-shaped door knocker intended to be ironic or symbolic to protect the dwellers from evil? In a lighter vein, the pavement of the Plaza of Humor illustrates widely known cartoon characters, as well as famous artists, authors, and comic actors. Even the sculptures on the plaza satirize politicians, authors, and ordinary citizens. The original intention of the square was to salute the people of A Coruña, who are known for their sense of humor. Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble of animated cartoon fame become Pedro and Pablo. Here's Groucho Marx and the Pink Panther, as well as Laurel and Hardy. The cat sculpture alludes to a Galician mythological figure that makes children wet their beds. The Tower of Hercules is a famous emblem for A Coruña. Built by the Romans as a navigational lighthouse, it's also a symbol for the entire country of Spain. During the Middle Ages, it was another defensive fortification. Today, the Tower of Hercules is the oldest existing, still functioning, with the help of some modernization, lighthouse in the world. It is surrounded by a park with artwork, such as La Caracola, shaped like a giant mollusk. Here's a weirdly depicted Charon, the Greek mythological ferryman to Hades. The giant looking over our shoulders is Brogan, a Celtic chieftain. According to Celtic myth, he is the source connecting this Galician area of Spain to the Celts. It is said that he had the city of Brigantia, including a tower, constructed where A Coruña is now. From that tower, his sons spotted the land that was to become Ireland. We bid adios a Coruna with these tranquil images of the Tower of Hercules, taken from our cruise ship as it sails southwest out of the Bay of Biscay and into the Atlantic. Overnight, we pass coastal lights of Spain and head for Porto, Portugal. With its bold, curving design, the Porto, or Leixões cruise terminal in northern Portugal, also recalls aspects of the Guggenheim in Bilbao. The walls have hexagonal tiles intentionally jutting out at different angles to reflect light. But we queasily wonder about their stability. At the end of the modern terminal jetty is this beautiful old stone lighthouse. A shadow was cast upon it by our passing ship as we sailed into the Douro River. Just outside this city is a huge, suspended fishing net sculpture called She Changes, or the Anemone by the locals. It is a tribute to the fishing tradition of Porto. There's a seemingly quaint but efficient electric tram we parallel on the way to the waterfront part of the city, which is where we find the historic Ribeira neighborhood of Porto, another UNESCO World Heritage Site. This vibrant center has been an industrial and commercial district since the Middle Ages. On the Douro River, we cruise on a Rebello. They once were used for ferrying that famous local product, port wine. Smoothly gliding along, we pass under the bi-level Dom Luis Bridge. The ride is enhanced with a taste of tawny port. Back aboard the marina, an overnight sailing takes us into Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. Approaching Lisbon in the darkness of the morning, we pass by the illuminated Palace of Ajuda overlooking the Tagus River. Picturesque and charming, Sintra is situated in the hills just outside of Lisbon. Since it's a major tourist attraction, the downtown area was quite crowded on this October day. Many are drawn to the impressive National Palace of Sintra, with its history going as far back as the 11th century under Moorish rule. The ornate and beautifully decorated interior features storytelling walls and ceilings. That pair of imposing, enormous chimneys rising from the royal kitchen have become emblematic for the town. They are literally iconic cones. Returning to the ceiling paintings, their themes set the names for the colorful rooms. This is the Mermaid Room, giving a nod to seafaring stories and the Portuguese Age of Discovery. The walls of the rooms are covered with finely detailed tiles. Among room decorations are soup tureens depicting animals, some looking fearsomely realistic. There are 30 swans painted on the ceiling of the Swan Room. Their number represented the age of the bride of the Duke of Burgundy, who occupied the palace at the time. The coat of arms room is thoroughly covered with heraldic symbols of Portuguese nobility. Walls of blue and white tiles illustrate scenes of life as a noble. Images of magpies cover another ceiling. The story goes that they're related to a minor royal scandal involving a king cheating on his queen. When his wife found out about it, the king thought images of magpies would show His Majesty's disdain for the gossips who ratted him out. Lining the walls of this room are tiles of a Moorish design. Then there are fascinating artifacts like this globe with astrological symbols. A very finely carved chest of drawers and a chapel with trompe-l'oeil paintings are other examples. Curiously, this rather arrogant saying appears on a mirror hanging among portraits of presumed nobility. As with any other grand palace, there's a great deal of wall art. This one is unusual. It's John the Baptist, who seems to be in drag. We learn later that its 16th century Italian artist, Francesco Franzia, intended the shirt to depict animal hide. We exit the palace, passing the beautiful topiary of the Preda Garden. Back in Lisbon, in the early morning sunlight, the cliffside homes radiantly glow. Situated on the northern bank of the Tagus River is Lisbon's Monument of the Discoveries. It celebrates Portugal's pivotal role in global exploration in the 15th and 16th centuries. Leading the lineup of this stylized caravel sailing ship's prow is Henry the Navigator. There are 32 other figures from that time, such as Vasco da Gama and Ferdinand Magellan. While the Monument of the Discoveries was built in the 1960s, this UNESCO World Heritage Site dates back to the early 16th century. Originally, Belém Tower was a fortress for the city. It was the last view that departing Portuguese sailors had of Lisbon, and the first sight upon their return. Numerous turrets and maritime-themed carvings dot this impressive tower. Unexpectedly, as we departed Lisbon, we were treated to an exciting flyover by numerous propeller planes buzzing our cruise ship. Sailing around the Iberian Peninsula, we approach our next port of call, Valencia. It lies on the southeast coast of Spain, bordering the Mediterranean Sea. Among its more recent claims to fame is the mind-boggling architecture of its city of arts and sciences. Designed by architects Calatrava and Candela, it consists of 8 major structures. We'll look at a few of them. Cables from the Golden Dam Bridge dramatically seem to crisscross the Agora building. The Museum of Sciences is shaped like a whale skeleton and has a reflecting pool. From there you get great views of the eyeball-like hemispheric structure and the Queen Sofia Palace of the Arts. Located inside are a planetarium, laserium, and an IMAX theater, as well as an opera house and performing arts center. Behind that geodesic dome is the nearly 230-foot-tall elliptical agora. That glass ceiling, though, has to be cleaned periodically. Within the agora, a wide variety of activities, such as sports events, concerts, and conventions, are held. Nestled inside are other structures. Is this a spaceship or a helmet? It's the Reina Sofia Palace of the Arts and Opera House. Just past the Agora is another amazing attraction, the Oceanographic. This is a water world mainly consisting of very large aquariums, a dolphin show, and a number of lagoons. The aquariums have an impressive collection of geographically diverse species, such as colorful fish, sharks, rays, sea lions, walruses, penguins, beluga whales, birds, tortoises, and many others. Let's take a brief look. And now, you'll flip for this act, or at least they did. Here's a look at the show at the Dolphinarium. Leaving the excitement of the Dolphinarium, we go to the more serene Valencia Cathedral, which dates from the 13th century. Like some of the other cathedrals we've seen, it has a variety of architectural styles: Baroque, Romanesque, and Gothic. The original Holy Grail is rumored to have once been housed here. Near the cathedral is the Turia Fountain. A reclining statue of Roman god Neptune represents the river Turia, which had often flooded parts of the city. Surrounding him are 8 maidens pouring water from pots as a representation of irrigation channels that distribute the essential water to farms. Towering Serrano Gate is one of the remaining 2 gates of this once walled city. It was primarily designed for defense, as well as a royal entrance. Now, as in the past, it continues to be used for ceremonies with VIPs or others. That sounds suitable for us. Where's our coach? Valencia is such a beautiful city. Here are views of some of its other buildings and statuary. And we can't forget their famous oranges. Before leaving, we must mention another specialty food found here, the Turon candy. Later, in Barcelona, we also enjoyed tasting this nougat delicacy. Barcelona is so replete with extraordinary sights that we've created a separate video of that magnificent city. Please enjoy watching it as well.